Okay, let's get started. I will let people in as they arrive. But hello, everyone. I'm Kate. Welcome to F3. I'm seeing lots of new faces, which I love. Um, yeah, I'm the president of F3 this year. I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time, but I do have a couple of F3 announcements. One, we are looking for new board members for next year. And two, we have lots of events coming up. We have one, well, we're gonna do our weekly meetings Mondays. And then we also have an event on April 23rd. And I think that's what I have right now. If we have time at the end, I'll give a little more explanation, but I don't want to push into Marion's time because I am so grateful that you are here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to pass it to Hannah, our vice president, and she's going to introduce Marion, and then we'll get started and we can do introductions at the end if we have time. Hannah, take it away.
Hey everybody, I'm Hannah, Vice President of F3. Hi, Marion. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I'm also seeing some new faces, but I also recognize Barbara, Diana from class. Oh, Joey's here. Hi, he's connecting. Hi, Joey. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to Q&A for us today. I'm really excited. Marion is she's a professor at SF State, taking her screenwriting class this semester, but she's also a screenwriter. She's worked on big shows like Better Call Saul and The Act, and she's here to answer everybody's questions. So at any point in the conversation, anybody can feel free to chime in with questions. You can whatever you're feeling, but yeah. Right, Rand, you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks, Eli, for setting this up. And thanks, Kate. I don't know what you do to get president, but that's really cool. I'm glad to see some faces I know. Hannah, Barbara, Diana, and my mom, Kim, is here tuning in. She's from Nebraska, but she's out here in LA visiting me. So it's cool that she hopped on. And probably my dad's listening next to her. So Dave and Kim are in the house. And Hannah, would you mind if there are any questions in the chat? Would you just ask them to me? I don't want to miss anybody. Yep. And please ask questions because I don't want to hear myself talking for an hour. And I really want to answer anything that you want to know about anything. Do you want me to just start by kind of will do? All right. You have to let me know what to do. I'm new at this. Yeah, so I'm from Nebraska. I loved reading for as long as I can remember. I loved writing stories. I got a big dictionary of quotations like this thick, and I would just sit in my room for hours and copy down the quotations I like. I just liked writing. I liked putting my pen on the paper and feeling that flow happen. I never considered the possibility that writing was something that I could do for a career. If you're good at writing, maybe you could be an English teacher. Maybe people write a book. I don't really know very many people from Nebraska who have, and I wanted a respectable career. So I went to college for bio. I did ultimately end up switching over to literature and history my junior year. So I had some credits to make up, but I graduated with degrees in literature, minors in history and Spanish. After college, I was taking my MCAT, about to, I don't know, I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do, and nothing satisfied me. So I tried a lot of different jobs. My mom can tell you about that. I don't even remember them all. I worked at a phone polling company. I managed a shoe store for a while. I worked in child protection. I worked at a group home. for a while with all male clients. A lot of different things. And then it just that urge to write was always pulling at me. But I wasn't ready to move across the country. Or screenwriting professor at UCLA, and he encouraged me to move to Los Angeles. I really wasn't ready yet. So I found a writing job in Nebraska. It was a journalist for the railroad. So they have their freight trains, they have their own newspapers. So I would travel all around the country with my hard hat and my steel-toed boots, interviewing railroaders who had been there for 30 years and making their newspaper for them. I also did the photos, so I was a photojournalist. That was a lot of fun, but I think 3 years in, I wanted to do fiction, the research, the journalism. That was really fun, but I felt confined by the facts, and I wanted to do something more creative. About that time, I was 24. I moved to Los Angeles with the goal of getting a master's at UCLA. However, I to do. So I made a list of 5 different people that I really respected at the time, and I targeted them for a job. One of them was Laura Ziskin, who was working on Spider-Man, the Spider-Man movies at the time. She was producing them. She was also starting the Stand Up to Cancer campaign. I really liked what she was doing. I had a lot of respect for her. So I applied for an internship. It was unpaid. I wasn't going to make any money. But I had my mind set on her. So I kept calling. I'm glad I didn't know at the time everything I know now, because I wouldn't have been brave enough to do that. I was naive. So I just kept calling. I thought that they would, and I think they either got sick of me or they were amused by me or something. I wasn't in school. So they're like, we can't give you an internship because you're not getting credit. I'm like, I know, but like, they finally let me in as an intern. I started reading scripts. I did coverage. I made coffee. I took out trash, anything they needed. And the other interns were in undergrad, so I was quite a bit older, but I didn't really pay attention to that. I focused on learning and doing the best I could. And I happened to be the only person in the office who knew how to drive a stick shift. And Laura Ziskin had a stick shift car. So I drove her car to get lunch every day. And that is how she learned my name. That is how she started saying, have her read the script. And it's just these little things that happened that seem so lucky, but it's a combination of being in the right place at the right time and having the skills to do what you need to do. So I ended up staying on longer. I had to get money because Los Angeles is expensive, because so I nannied. That was the other part of my job. And I the whole time I was thinking, what is this? I'm working for free as an assistant, and I'm babysitting. Like, this is not the Hollywood dream that I imagined, but I kept at it. I didn't complain. And pretty soon a showrunner was looking for an assistant who was female, wanted to write, and also had nanny experience because she had a 6-month-old baby. So all of those things came together, and I became an assistant for Joey Soloway, who was working on United States of Terra for Showtime. So I worked on season 2 as her assistant, their assistant, and I saw all of the emails that went through their account. I went to all the meetings with them, learned what tone meetings, production meetings, Tech Scout, all of that are. The benefit of learning was very valuable. From there, Joey took me to another job. Often if you do well for an employer, they take you from project to project. So I moved with them over to How to Make It in America, season 2. That was on HBO. So I worked with them for a season, doing a lot. I was getting more responsibility. So I was mostly working at their desk. I was reading. I'm sorry for the pronoun confusion. When I worked for them, it was before they transitioned over. So I'm sorry if I slip up, but Started reading their scripts, giving notes. They trusted me with my opinion. That felt nice, but ultimately I needed more hours. I needed more full-time work. So because I had done well for them, they sent out an email to a bunch of friends saying that they had an assistant who did a great job. And someone from Curb Your Enthusiasm contacted me, and his name was Tim. And he said, look, I don't need an assistant. I have a great assistant, but Jeff Garland's here and he fires someone like every 4 days. So do you want an interview? Can't say I recommend it, but if you're looking for like a short gig, he kind of, yeah, you could try it. And I was like, yeah, I'll try it. So I went to that interview. He hired me at the interview. I started 2 days later. I went into a big staff meeting, and Larry David had me stand up in the room, introduce myself. And then he said something along the lines of, well, it was nice to meet you. It was nice knowing you, because everybody knew I was about to get fired. I didn't. I worked for him for 4.5 years. I worked my butt off. I was on Curb Your Enthusiasm season 8. I was on seasons 1 and 2 of the Goldbergs. And like I said, you get more and more responsibility as you do your hard work and you don't complain. So by the time I had got to my 4th year, I had done some sketch comedy. I wanted to get on the other side of things and do some acting, not because I'm a good actor. It was terrifying, but I wanted to see the other side of the words, how they feel in my mouth, what's easy to pronounce, what's not, why some dialogue work, how come this joke isn't funny. So I put it up as an actor, and that taught me a lot, being on the other side. I didn't necessarily want, Jeff is an actor and a producer. I didn't necessarily want to work for an actor, but I know I need to understand actors to do my job better. And the other thing that I was really realizing at the time is there were a lot of, to back up, I did do a night program at UCLA that's like a precursor to the grad program when I was working for Joey. It's 2 days a week night class. I just told Barbara about it and hope that she applies. So I had done that. I knew I was trying to write some things I was really interested in, but I couldn't execute them in the way that I wanted to. I knew that something was wrong, but I didn't know how to articulate why the ideas weren't working on the page. So you don't need a master's degree to be in a writer's room. You don't. However, for me, I wanted to be the very best writer that I could. And for me, that meant I needed to practice the repetition of writing over and over, writing bad scripts, writing good scripts, coming up with a good idea and writing it not great, so that I could learn how to do it. So by the time I kept working for Jeff full time, and I went to the master's program at UCLA. Did that for 2 years. It was a lot of work. I didn't have much of a social life, but I was really happy with the work I was doing, and I was making a lot of friends on the set of the Goldbergs. After the Goldbergs, Jeff wrote a movie. He wrote an improv movie, an outline. It was a long outline, not a script. And he had some of the great comedians, I'd say of this for sure this decade. I would even say this century. It was a murderer's row of talent that was in this feature. And I was working so I was fine. I had to go find a TV that we could break with a baseball bat. I had to go get fake glasses for an actor, and he was really particular about how they were fitting. Just anything they needed, I would do. And right before the shoot started, Jeff said, congratulations, you're going to be the associate producer on this film. That was amazing. I also, on one day of the shoot, they decided they needed to have an actor they needed to have a character who was working at the hot dog stand of this baseball field. And like, hadn't cast anybody. So they looked at me and said, put your hair in a ponytail, you're going to be the hot dog girl. Okay, like anything you need. So I got my first movie role in this movie called Dealing with Idiots. And Bob Odenkirk was the star of that movie. So I worked with him very closely. So when I had just gotten out of grad school, and I heard that Breaking Bad was going to have a prequel. It's actually an interquel. Interquel is a show that takes place before and after the events of the preceding show. And that's what Better Call Saul is. So I got in touch with Bob. I submitted, I now had a stack of writing samples from UCLA that I sent in. I got a meeting for a job as a writer's assistant. When I met with them, they said, you're overqualified for this. And I said, I don't care. I want to be in the writer's room. I don't care. Bring it on. So I started season 1 as the writer's assistant. That's the person in the room. I'll just, if everybody already knows this, they'll stop. But that's the person in the room, the only person in the room with the computer. I'm taking notes the whole time that they're in the room from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. And then I go home, I make a report of what the notes are. I clean up the notes. I send it out to all the writers. And then when it comes script time, I help them locate all the dialogue in the room notes that I've sent out, hundreds of pages of room notes. I do a lot of that. And then they're called prop documents. So anytime on the show, you would see a newspaper article or a legal document or a handwritten note from someone, I would create those. So I did do some writing. I also wrote what's called sides. Those are the scenes that the actors audition with when they come in. We don't use real scenes from the script because that show is so secretive, so locked down. They don't want their pages to get out. So I would write dummy scenes for these characters. And because of those scenes, those went to all the actors, they went to Sony, and they went to the actors' representatives. One of those was WME, a bigger agency in Los Angeles. And based on that writing I had done for the show so far, even though it wasn't much, I got my agent. It was still my agent now. And that was in 2014. So from there, kept working hard as a writer's assistant. Season 2, I also became a script coordinator. The script coordinator is the person who gets the first draft from the writers. I do all of the edits on the script to make sure it's formatted right, punctuation's right. There are 2 spaces after the period, like whatever the showrunner's style is, I have to make sure that happens. Then I give my draft to the showrunner. That was Peter Gould and Vince Gilligan. They give their notes on the script. I take those back to the writer. I make sure those changes are done. I was still the writer's assistant too, so I had 2 jobs on the show. Take them back to the writer. So the value of that job is that I was the only person on the show who got to see the first draft the writer submitted, all the changes the showrunner made, and then the final draft that went, all the steps in between. There's a writer's draft, and then a pre-production draft, a production draft, and then after the production draft, all of the changes you make once the production draft is there have to go in colored pages. I was the only person who saw that work being done. And it really helped me, like, okay, what's working for the showrunners? What are they removing? What are they keeping in? What are they changing? And why? Why is it better? That taught me a lot. And at the end of season 2, I had written a scene that we were going to film for DVD extras. It was very funny. It was about a guy who sits in pies and sells it to other people. I don't know if you've seen the show, but I'll tell you about it if you have after this. But anyway, it was a lot of fun to write that scene. And based on that, Vince and Peter asked me to co-write the season 2 finale. So as the writer's assistant script coordinator, I did get my first script as a season 2 finale, writing with Vince. That was nominated for a Writers Guild Award, which helped me continue to get work. I was staffed after that, so I moved up to staff writer on Better Call Saul for season 3. Seasons 3, 4, and 5, I wrote an episode each season, and I moved up the ladder to executive story editor. That's the level just before producer on the show. I got an offer from an Apple TV show. Sorry, in between my last seasons of Saul, I worked on a show called The Act for Hulu. That was a limited series. That was a really fun room. I didn't go to production on that show. I didn't go to where they were shooting because I had to go back to Saul. But it was really valuable to work in another room and see how another showrunner operates. Because, you know, at the end of the day, every lead writer, every showrunner finds their own voice, their own style, their own way to break the show. There's no wrong way to do it if it works for you. So I learned a different approach at breaking story, and I use elements of both now. After my 5th season of Better Call Saul, I got an offer to go on to an Apple TV show. I skipped the co-producer level and went up to producer. I worked on that show for a season. It was a season 1 show, so we weren't sure about a pickup. And at the end of that season, Marvel reached out to me, said, we really like your work. Wouldn't you come for an interview? I didn't even know what the show was. They wouldn't tell me ahead of time. But I got hired for that job. I got hired as the co-executive producer, which is 1 step below the showrunner. I signed on for a 10-week job on a show called Echo, which is now filming. It comes out at the beginning of next year. I'm really excited about the show. We had a really great writer's room. We had 2 deaf writers, 5 Indigenous writers, and over half the room was female. It wasn't working out with the showrunners that started on that show. So they parted ways, and they looked at me and said, how do you feel about stepping up and taking the showrunner job? I felt completely underprepared. Didn't know what I was doing, but I admitted that and said, I'm really excited to learn how to do this. And I'm confident that with the writers we have in the room, if you let me hire a couple more that are smarter than me, better than me, and have done this longer than me, we can make a really great show. So they'll let me do that. Instead of working there for 10 weeks, I worked there for 11 months. We got the 6 episodes written and they're in production now. So that was my path. I just finished the Marvel job. I'm taking a couple months off. I'll tell you that the first season you're a showrunner is, it's like a roller coaster. You're holding on very tight and hoping you can catch your breath sometime and your stomach doesn't drop every day. I learned how to take better care of myself during that job. I learned how to not overextend myself, how to take a long break at the end of it because I was losing sleep. I realized that I can't be the only person to do everything. I had to delegate. I had to stop being the writer's friend and be basically their parent instead. And I had to bite my tongue a lot when I disagreed with the studios. But yeah, for now I have a couple different ways I could go. We're developing a couple of projects now with Blumhouse for NBC. Barbara's interning for me. I hope she's enjoying it. She could probably answer some questions too, but that's how I ended up here. Do we pause for any questions?
There was a question in the chat, but I didn't. You on a roll, so there's what does a showrunner do? Suwan would like to know.
So a showrunner is the head writer. They are in charge of staffing the room, in charge of breaking all the episodes. They lead the writers through the process of breaking the episodes. So I combine the pieces that work the best for me from Saul and the pieces that work the best for me for The Act and the Apple TV show Shantaram that's just finished shooting in India. I found a system that really worked well for me. So a lot of the beginning of that show is guiding the writers through the process. When production starts, the showrunner is the executive, is the head of the show. So it was my responsibility to meet with the directors, to hire the directors, to meet with all of the heads of the department. I had to be the expert on the story. So meeting with costume designers, meeting with consultants, leading the conversations in those meetings. When it gets time, you lead the tone meetings, you lead the tech scout meetings. You meet with the locations department and tell them what the locations are that you're going to be using. You look at the budget, you decide what actors you can hire, how many writers you can hire. So you're really, you turn from a creative into, you still have to wear that creative hat, but you're also wearing an executive hat because you're running a company now. It's not something that you automatically know how to do. Writers are introverted, shy usually, maybe struggling with insecurity. I say maybe, just in case you're not, but every writer I've met at some time is like, I don't think I know how to do this. This is too hard. I don't deserve to be here. Everybody else is probably better than me. That's a lie that we tell ourselves. Everybody struggles with that. So the showrunner is the head of the production and the writing.
If anyone else has any questions, now's a good time to jump in.
You can send them in the chat, raise your hand, just unmute yourself.
Mom, do you have any questions? No, they left the phone on the table and they're like, we'll come back to that in an hour.
Okay, I have questions. So what resources are out there for, oh, let's get Joey's first. What is your favorite role you've worked on so far? That's a good question.
Like the favorite is, are you saying what's the favorite show I've worked on, or what was my favorite hat? I always wanted to work my way up to being a showrunner and ultimately a director. So it was a great experience to finally get there. I was under the impression that once I reached a certain level, like I've made it, I'm done, I'm good, like everything will be easy now. And it's always a quest. Like once you reach a goal, you want to get to the next thing, you want to try something new. I enjoy that I've worked for a lot of different companies and a lot of different studios. Many writers will sign an overall deal with one studio. So they're only working for Paramount or they're only working for HBO. I really like the flexibility of, like right now I'm developing a stop motion adult series for Warner Brothers with Tim Burton as an executive producer. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I had an overall deal with Sony. So I'm looking forward to expanding my hats, getting more hats. But I'm also looking forward to becoming a better showrunner. Nobody's a great showrunner, the greatest showrunner after one season of doing it. I learned a lot of things that I'm excited to try next time. But showrunning is really, it's difficult and it's a lot of things you got to pay attention to. So I also liked being the producer on Shantaram because you're upper level. So you're helping the younger writers. I really like helping newer writers. That's been really important for me. I really enjoy teaching. So that's a job that you're able to help the newer writers, but you're also you're not responsible for all of the things that the showrunner is doing. So if you need a break from show running, you can be a consulting producer or a producer for your friend and kick back and write an episode or two.
Hannah, go ahead and ask your question and then we'll go back to the chat.
My question was just what resources are out there for college students that are working toward a career in film and TV?
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask Barbara to answer that question because she is at an intern level, which is a really good step. I know that you have internships for college, but it leads to other things.
Yeah. Hi, I don't know if you can hear me well. I'm not cool. Okay. Well, surprisingly enough, there are a lot of resources at university that like I was at SFSU as an exchange student, and that's where I met Marion, and that's where this like incredible opportunity just like came out of heaven for me, I guess. But other than that, I feel like in terms of searching for internships online, there's a big process of just like applying and contacting people who might be in the industry through LinkedIn or through there are many like entertainment websites that you can look up. There's one that's entertainment careers.net, I think. You can get a subscription there through your student um, uh, like email, and you like can access it even cheaper than the normal rate, and you can get through a lot of options there. Um, Other things that can help are like this organization here. There's so many organizations at SFSU that you can always contact, to just have projects on the side that you can work with, and eventually you gather a portfolio that you can show later whenever you're applying. Um, and yeah, I feel like there's so many resources in the university that you can really take a huge advantage of, and always ask like teachers for help. Um, and yeah, I mean, they're always willing to help you in every department. And I think that's something wonderful to take advantage of.
Thanks, Barbara.
And I really liked working with Barbara for a couple of reasons. And I see that in the chat, what are two things that help you climb the ladder? This is something that Barbara did very well. First of all, I would say helping other people at your level. And that seems a bit counterintuitive because you're trying to get your projects made. You're trying to get yourself a job. So it seems like, why would I help somebody else get a job? Why would I help them with their script when I'm so busy with mine? Seriously, it's the only way to get going. The other assistants, the other interns, I would always ask them, what are you working on? What can I do? Do you want me to make the coffee I noticed you did yesterday? That goes a long way, because the people sitting next to you in class, the people sitting next to you at your internship, they will be on shows one day. They will have the ability to hire you. They'll have the ability to recommend you. And you don't only do it for that reason. You do it because helping other people with their stuff helps you learn the craft. It helps you make those relationships that are really important, and exposes you to different roles. So if I had a friend at UCLA who was making a short film, I would offer to set up the lights. I would be part of the crew. I wanted to know what all the jobs were and how people felt, how they were treated in their jobs. It was really important to me that everyone's treated well, that everyone eats, and the last thing I'll say about that, about helping others, is when you start working in this industry, which you all will if you want to, there's a belief that it's a competition, that if one of your classmates gets a job before you, you're somehow behind, that someone else's success means that you're somehow failing. And that's not true. There are enough jobs for everyone. And in fact, you make your own way. You make your own job. Your voice and your experience is what people need. You can follow step by step everything that I've done and end up in a completely different place because you have your own voice, experiences, everything like that. One of the scripts that helped me best was something I had written at UCLA. It's a autobiographical kind of. It's about my family. My dad's a mortician. My grandpa and uncle are as well. So I wrote about a very small town in Nebraska, like the one I grew up in, and someone moving, a young woman moving back from California to work at her family's funeral home. And that script ended up making it into Sundance. And the reason it did is because I had a lot of classmates that offered to read it and give notes, and I'll never forget them. I'll never stop trying to help them if they're in between jobs, or ask them what I can do for them. So it really is a give relationship, and it works really well. The other thing I would say that helped me climb the ladder is I was never concerned with my boss helping me. I wanted to work hard for them. So I didn't ask them to read my scripts in the first couple months. I didn't ask them to send emails to their friends until I had worked with them for like a year and a half. And every time, what would happen is they would come to me after a certain amount of time and say, "How come you've never asked me to read anything? Can I read something?" And having your boss say, "I would really like to read something," is much different than you saying, "Could you please read this?" And your boss being like, "Okay," when you've only been there for a few months. So get into that situation where people around you are really eager to help you out to read your stuff. What is your hiring philosophy in regards to diversity? For me, that's a non-negotiable factor in my rooms. I believe that we need to have many different points of view. We need to have many different experiences. We made several adjustments in the Echo room for our deaf writers, and it was amazing. I mean, there are just some things we needed to work around, like screen sharing in Zoom. We couldn't do because we had interpreters there. We had Indigenous writers from all over the country that were on different reservations in different states, because I didn't have that experience. Our Echo is about an Indigenous deaf woman who grows up on a reservation in Oklahoma. And I needed people, I'm good at guiding the thoughts to the page, but I needed the life experience that would show us that way. So I loved working on Better Call Saul. When I started, I was the only female on the staff. Everybody in the room was the same type of person, and they were all quite a bit older than me. I just felt like, the show could have benefited from having more diverse voices. And I would say, when you're hiring people, my first hire is always diversity, a diversity hire, and not in the way that like I look for them from the program so I could say that I did it, but the first person I hire on the show will be a head of department, and they'll come from a diverse background, or underprivileged, or people that haven't been represented enough in my opinion. I think that's really important. What is the pay rate for a showrunner? A lot more than it is for an intern, I'll tell you that. It depends. It depends on if you're working for streaming, premium cable, AMC, HBO, Showtime. Those tend to be a bit lower on the salary range. It's still more than enough to get you what you need, but it's slightly less than you make on a broadcast network like NBC, ABC, Fox. Those pay more. However, at the premium cable streaming places, you typically have more creative freedom, more latitude to do what you want to do as a creative. So there's a trade-off. Do I want to make a little less money and be able to, have the trust of my executives and be able to sort of try something off center in the voice that I have? Or do I want to go for more money and have a lot more rounds of studio and network notes? I chose the less money because I really want to create certain stories. I want to tell stories a certain way. That doesn't always work. There are networks where you have to do what they're asking. That can sometimes be frustrating, but yeah, if you're a showrunner, depending on the network, you're gonna probably make at least $300,000 in a season. And a season is not a full year. So you could work on 2 shows in a year if you're able to do that. It is contract based. It's a bit different. So you'll be in the Writers Guild by the time you're a showrunner. So there's Writers Guild minimums. As a showrunner, you're also an executive producer. So you get a weekly amount of money. So that's your salary. You also get paid for scripts that you write. You get script fees on top of that, which tend to be from anywhere from $25,000 to $40,000 for your script. And then you also get payments as an executive producer on each episode that you're an executive producer for. So if you stay for the run of the show and you have 6 episodes, you probably get $30,000 an episode as an executive producer on top of the weekly, which can be anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 a week. As a staff writer, you make around $7,000 a week when you start out, which to me was an incredible fortune. So it's not true that you can't make a living as a writer. That's the bottom line. How can writers find mentors and writing groups? Go to classes and ask your friends if they want to start a writing group. That's the easiest way to do it, I would say. If you have a small group in a class, like the one I'm doing now, we have a lot of small group work. So maybe you have a lot of good chemistry with that group and you want to continue developing your projects after the semester. Great. It's a workshop. People bring their pages every week. You table read those scripts and then give your feedback. That's basically what a writing group is. Gives you deadlines and keeps you going. Mentors, they can be people that you really look up to. Usually writers like to help other writers. So if there's somebody you really admire, you can get on IMDb Pro for not very much money and find out who represents that writer, how to get in touch with them. You can go online and read their scripts. By the time I got my Better Call Saul interview, I had read every script that Vince Gilligan had written, and I had a great admiration for his writing style. He's a great writer. So get around people who are writing what you want to write. I'm not saying to copy them. I'm saying either try to get around them, get in their orbit, but at the very least, read what they've written. It'll teach you a lot to read. Don't ever stop reading. Can you share advice on obtaining an internship? Barbara, again, you've done several. Could you talk about some of the ways that you got those internships?
Well, I've gotten some internships that are not that much related to this industry, but still the same advice goes that you have to be very patient, and there's a lot of work in applying to places for sure. But always like ask around in campus, your friends, family members. If you know of anyone or have any contacts that can grant you an opportunity and there's some win-win situation, then I think that's great. So I feel like it's a good idea to always take opportunity of, you never know who can help you out with an internship, and you never know who's out there who's looking for someone. And I feel like if you have something good in mind and you want to work hard, it's something like the universe will help you out in a little bit. It's just being patient and working hard, I guess. It's very abstract advice, but it has worked out.
Thank you, Barbara. That was a really good answer. There's something called a UTA job list that comes out every week, and it has a lot of listings for internships. Some you can do online. Some you need to move to Los Angeles for. Does everyone know what an intern does for writing, like a writing intern? Do you want to know what they do? Barbara, you're up. Barbara's doing it now, so she's the best person. I can tell you what I did, but that was in 2008, and maybe times are changing. Plus, it's been COVID, so a lot of things are virtual. I was never a virtual intern.
Well, yeah, for me, what I've been doing so far, it's a lot of different things, mostly script coverages. So this is where you read a script and you give feedback to the script based on like categories and like specific ratings that you will learn. It's specific like things that are meant to be in a script. But then you also do a lot of research. You meet up with people and give feedback on the writing. Well, right now I'm also helping Marion with Becca for 70, the class, and it's very similar to what you do in class. You know, you're in the writer's room, you give feedback, you read a lot, you read a lot. You're not in the point of writing yet. But yeah, it's mostly that, reading a lot, but I love it, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
I will say Barbara's also been able to help with I get invited to judge screenwriting competitions. Barbara does a lot of reading for those, and then any money I make that, you know, they pay me to do these screenwriting competitions, that goes to Barbara. I'm not going to keep it if she did a lot of the work. So there's a lot of different things you can do. Sometimes she looks up flights. She's helping me travel to San Francisco next weekend. We're doing an in-person class. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're around next Saturday, you can drop by and sit in on the class if you want to check it out. Maybe you can take it next semester. How do you find a balance between your creative vision versus what the network wants? Boy, that's a tricky one. But here's a tip for you. You don't ever have to respond to a note on the notes call. You don't need to. They act like you need to give them an answer right now. You can say, that's really interesting. I'm going to take a look at that. Never say no to a note on the phone. Even if you know you have no intention of doing that note and it doesn't work for your story, thanks, that's a really good idea. Let me look at that. Sometimes you can go into that line of dialogue and change a few words and it looks changed. However, you should always listen to the notes. If somebody, like if my car is making noises, I don't know anything about cars. I don't know what's causing the sound, but I go into the shop and be like, I don't know, there's like this chugging on the left side, kind of towards the back. Good luck. And they got to pay attention to that note. And maybe it's something in the engine that's causing that, but my description of what's going on is what helped them get there. So sometimes someone's having a bump in a certain place. Maybe the fix is an act earlier, but if they're reading it and they're having a problem with an area, it's because there's something that's not working in the script. So it's your job to go investigate that area. And if you really need that to stay as is, you need to find out what happened earlier or later that's making that seem undigestible to them when they're looking at it. So listen to the notes, compliment them on the phone. Thank you. That's really great idea. Let me look at it. And then go into the script and find out where you can make changes. Sometimes you have to do what the network wants. Sometimes they'll come to you and say, we can't use this character. We can't use this actor because our budget, this location costs too much. In those cases, you need to go back to your writer's room and say, all right, we only have this writer for 3 episodes now instead of 6. We got to re-break parts of this story to create different character arcs, so we don't need this character in that episode. So it depends on what the note is. Those kind of things, when they come to you with that kind of stuff, you have to say, I'm on it. Don't worry, we got this. And you should say that even if you have no idea how you're going to pull it off. It's okay. You don't know how to do something until 5 minutes after you've done it for the first time. So you do know how to do it, even if you think you don't. How much of Echo was determined as far as narrative before you came on board? I'm under so many NDAs right now, I can't tell you that. Yeah, that's what I got. I'm going to answer this question. Oh, these questions are both good. So if anyone wants to stay after to hear the final question, I'll answer that when we're done. But I want people to introduce themselves. In your view, what are some qualities of a good writer? Willingness to look at my style and really try to execute my vision. As a staff writer, it's not your show, it's the showrunner's show. So even if you are certain that your idea is going to work, if the showrunner says that's a great idea, but it's not going to fit in this, it doesn't quite fit in this, what I'm imagining, you got to let that go and move on. So are they willing to be a team player and work with you? That's another thing I look for is, have they given thought? Have they given thought to the story that we're telling? And are they passionate about wanting to be there? Is it something that's going to move them ahead? Because if it's not, if it seems like a job that's going to fill their time, they should look for something that they're really going to enjoy. I will take new writers who haven't worked in a room before, because I believe that there's value in having people there that aren't bound by all of the rules. And sometimes they pitch and don't write a script the first season, but they have good ideas. Execution is another one. You do need to know how to work your way around final draft, get the format right. If I put 2 spaces after in between my sentences, they need to, it drives me nuts to have my script coordinator. I had to do this on Saul. Go through every page of the script and put an extra space between the sentences because Vince wanted to. That's a nightmare. So the writer needs to pay attention to details. And are they creative? Like, do they think outside of my box? Will they challenge me to see things in a different angle? And you get there by just being yourself. You don't have to go break your head trying to come up with interesting things to say to the showrunner. You talk about yourself. You'll bring something to the table just by being you and being honest. I'd love to hear everyone introduce themselves.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for all of that. I have learned a lot, and I think your experiences are fantastic, and I would love to learn more from you. So I'm Kate. I am president of F3. This is my final semester. I just finished filming my own project, so if anyone's interested in that, stick around. I love to talk about it. But no, yeah, I'm mostly interested in writing and directing. I'm a cinema major. That's my spiel. Hannah, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Hannah, Vice President of F3. I'm also graduating this semester. I'm interested in going into documentary. I want to produce, but I'm also really into screenwriting. Actually, my co-writer for a show we're developing is here. Hi, Niku. On hiatus for now, but we will get back to it at some point. Yeah, Gabriella, do you want to go?
Okay. Hi, I'm Gabriella. I'm the event coordinator for F3. I'm currently a 2nd year Becca major, so I'm still like figuring out what I want to do. But at the moment, I'm really interested in producing. And yeah, I also learned a lot today. So thank you for being here. And I will pass it to Jada.
Hi, I'm Jada. I'm a 3rd year Becca major, and I've always just been interested in directing and producing television production, but then just recently I've really gotten into live television production. So that's kind of where I feel like I found my calling. But yeah, and I want to get into writing because I always wanted to, but I feel like I just never gave myself the time to pursue it. I'll pass it to Caitlin.
Oh, okay. Hi. So I actually just graduated last semester, but I'm friends with one of Marion's TAs, and he told me about this because I'm interested in screenwriting. So I decided to pop in. Yeah, I'm just super interested in screenwriting. I don't know if you guys know the BEA competition that happens every year, but my friend from a class and I last semester submitted a script and we actually won first place in our category. Thank you. Um, so yeah, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can while I can and just figuring out where to go from here. Um, ah, let's go to Niku, I guess.
Hi, I'm Niku. This is my last semester here. I'm a Becca student with an emphasis in television writing, though I'm kind of trying other things now. And I don't know what else to say about myself. So I'll pass it to Elizabeth.
Hey there, I'm a cinema major and Latinx minor. This is my 4th year at state and kind of like roughly my second to last semester, depending if I take classes during the summer or not. But I love to direct, I love to shoot. I want to get into producing and writing in the future. I just gotta, put myself out there and learn how to trust my craft. And thank you for all this. This was really cool. And I'll pass it to Joey.
Joey's introducing himself in the chat. He's in the library. He, she, I don't know people's pronouns.
Joey says, I'm in the library right now, junior cinema major, LGBT minor, writing and directing, aiming, love experimental cinema. Passing it to Diana. Thank you, Joey.
Hi, I'm Diana, and I'm a 3rd year Becca major, and I am considering double majoring in cinema. Just need to talk to my advisors about that. My interests are in writing and directing, and I'm still trying to figure out if I want to focus on one over the other more. But yeah, I guess I'll pass to Jeff.
Hi, I'm actually a student at San Diego State University. I learned about this Zoom on the CSUEA website or the Instagram. So thank you so much for doing this. I'm actually kind of a midlife career change. I want to get into writing and producing and directing. I'm very interested in virtual reality, virtual production, animation, live action also. Yeah, and just thanks for having me and thanks for doing this again.
Thanks for being here.
Sorry, I'm on my phone, so I don't know who to pass it to. Anybody want to pick that one up?
Barbara, if you want to go, oh, sorry.
I can go next. Hi, I'm Sue On. I go to Cal State Long Beach, and I found out about this event through the Entertainment Alliance Instagram page as well. I'm really interested in improving my writing. I think I'm not a great writer right now, so any advice I can gain is helpful. But I'm really interested in directing and cinematography, and I figure if I'm going to do either of those, like I really want to just make my own stories to bring to life. And it was really great to hear the guest speaker, and I learned a lot today. So thank you so much.
Should I go? Yeah. Cool. I'm Barbara, and I was an exchange student at SFSU, so I don't really know what I am at SFSU. I guess it's a Becca major. And yeah, as I'm interning for Marion, I'm an aspiring screenwriter and producer, and yeah, I'm just learning as much as I can every day. And I'll pass it to Jackson if he's there.
Oh, Jackson's here. Yay.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I am a freshman at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, majoring in English, ex-film studies major. And I worked with Marion in my senior year of high school. We're from the same hometown. So that's how we know each other. And yeah, aspiring writer.
Jackson's taken my class twice now, and he is going to be my intern for next semester. Very excited.
I'm very excited as well. Oh, who hasn't gone?
Looks like
I can go.
Pleman.
Plumman. Hi. This is my first year at SF State. I transferred from Cal State Long Beach. I'm a cinema major. I'm considering adding Becca as a minor as well. I'm interested in screenwriting, directing, currently working on pre-production for this short skit that I wrote. And yeah, this is really fun. Thank you for having me.
Great. I think that's everyone. If not, cut me off. We are past our time, but so you're free to go. But if you would like to stay on, I know there was one more question left that Marion wanted to answer, and I will also have some other exciting F3 news after we complete that. But you are all free to leave. Our meeting is officially over, and thank you everyone for joining. It was great to see so many people.
We're about to start the non-official party, so if you want to stay, stay. This is a really good question from Niku. When working on a screenplay or individual TV episode, how heavily do you rely on outlines? How far do you let a script diverge from its outline? Thanks for that. Thanks for all your questions. These are very good questions. And better than what I would have come up with on my own. For me, it's different for a lot of showrunners. Some people use their outlines as kind of, they're trying to find the story and they find it on the page. I don't believe that's the way. In my experience, in the work that I've done, I spend probably 2.5 weeks with the writer's room, first we talk blue sky. That's when we kind of discuss what might land in the episode. We go character by character and say, really in this moment, where is the character? Where is their head? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What is their logical next step from where they are? I study a lot on the character development. In fact, I use a video game character development template based on a video game class that I took at UCLA, video game writing. Excellent character development in a lot of video games. So I work with, we work character by character. Then we start doing broad strokes of what we think the act structures are going to look like. We put note cards on a big board, 3x5 note cards. So we kind of find the beats for the episode. Beats are like what moments are going to happen roughly in each act. Then we do a final pass. We go brick by brick. That's step by step through the episode to see if those moments are working. What are we missing? We can't complete the next card until we finish this one. We can't finish this one without the one before. So we really go straight in order. The outline is where we find the story. So you take the beats, you take all the room notes, and then you go create a 15 to 20 page outline. That is the episode written as a short story with most of the dialogue not there. You'll have a few lines of dialogue to help you go along the story if they're really necessary for the storytelling. Once I have the outline written based on the beats that I wrote, I take the most time at the beat stage so that when I get to the outline, it's really just an expansion of the beats. When I go to script, I've spent so much time on the character development, on the beats and writing the outline. I do not deviate from my outlines. If I sent you my outline for the act, it's scene by scene what you see in the episode. Same with Better Call Saul. It wasn't quite the same for Echo because we had some stuff changing as we were writing, and that was outside of my control. So we had to re-break some things. But in most cases, I don't deviate from the outline. You will get studio and network notes on the outline that could affect a few scenes in the episode. That's the one instance where I might deviate from the outline, is if I got some great studio network notes that I can incorporate. I'll still go through my outline and adjust those parts in the outline because my outline is my Bible for the script. So when I go to script, that's another expansion of my step before. We're doing this in the class now. We have written our outlines. We wrote our beat sheets, then we wrote our outlines. Now we're writing the first 10 pages of our script based on the outline. The outline's your best friend when you're writing the script. So I put the outline in my final draft document. I put it into screenplay format. I put the stage direction where it belongs, the scene description where it belongs. And then it's about really finding the dialogue there. So if you got a 20-page outline, you're going to have a 50-page show once you got the dialogue there. That was a really good question. Thank you. That's all my questions. Now we can hear Kate's exciting announcements.
Great, thank you. Yeah, again, feel free to leave, but F3 has some exciting things coming up. And this is for everyone, not just SF State students. We just are an SF State based organization, but our meetings are Mondays on Zoom and in person typically, and they are 5 to 6 p.m. every Monday. So yeah, next week we are still planning our event, but more information comes out usually every Friday to Sunday, depending on availability of my team, on our Instagram, which is Feminist Filmmaker Fellowship. That's the whole thing. And yes, thank you, Hannah. Sorry, got distracted. But yeah, we have all of our announcements there, including we have just wrapped our club's production of Adelita. Woo! It's a film about these two sisters that are in the Mexican Revolution, and they have to develop their relationship in order to survive the war together. And it's a really beautiful story by one of our board members who couldn't make it tonight, but it's a really inspiring project, and it will be coming out in May, and our Indiegogo is still up. We are still fundraising. Hannah, if you can link that in the chat, that would be amazing. What else? On Saturday, the 23rd, we have an event on campus with Audrey Duane, who is a French filmmaker, and we are going to be screening her film Happening about reproductive rights. And she's going to come in and talk about her film and give a Q&A at the end of that. More information on that will be coming soon. I just confirmed everything today, so keep an eye out. We also have a women's panel coming up at the end of the semester, which will represent all kinds of women in all kinds of art forms. And we just want to celebrate all artists, especially women and non-binary artists. That's a big thing that F3 strives for, and that's what we want to represent with the women's panel, which will be held on May 2nd on campus, and hopefully also on Zoom. And then I did briefly mention in the very beginning, we are doing elections. We need people for next year and next semester to help out with creating these fun events and just moving F3 forward, doing more productions, and just making a new community after a majority of us leave. So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to us. I will put our email in the chat, and you are also welcome to Oh my gosh. Also, welcome to DM us on Instagram or contact us individually. Sorry, I'm trying to type and talk. That's our email. Again, our Instagram is Feminist Filmmaker Fellowship, no spaces. And I think that's everything. But yeah, I hope to see you all again. Our elections for board members, just so you know, you do not have to be a cinema major or a Becca major. You can be a math major, I don't care. As long as you want to represent film and be supportive of women and non-binary people in film, that's what F3 is all about. So everyone is welcome. But that is all I have. I am officially done, I think, unless Hannah or Gabriella have anything else. Cool. Thank you all so much again, Marion. Thank you. I loved hearing from you. And
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. This meeting has also been recorded, which I should stop, but